finals, semifinals, and now it is time for the finals. So for the finals, we will have to remind we are playing till only one winner, 140 points. The second and third, fourth gets decided based on how many points and how early they reached in the finalist. So those will be the things to look out for. So it looks like we're already in the warm-up of the finals. So who are your small predictions? Who do you think? Who might be the players who might come out on top from all of these four players? You did mention Azion, but will it really be Azion? Like, Raja has been playing pretty good. Loso has a massive step up, especially from the previous match results. So we'll see who do you think? I'm personally thinking that Azion might take it in the end, with Ratchet taking second, Loso being in third, and Bosbez most likely fourth. So for me, Bosbez at the moment is the underdog in this match.
Yeah, I would agree with you on Bosbez. I mean, while I do think Azion will take it, I wouldn't be surprised if Ratchet would be the one to, like, just really feel the pressure and perhaps because of that come to his own, because the pace is there, right, and respond to it in a positive way for him. But I think, from those top three, right, Ratchet, Azion, Loso, I think either of those three are today looking like they could be picking up that first place. I mean, again, Bosbez, I really hope so, but I don't think he's been that much in his element, though. Right now, as we do get kicking things off on the finals, we do see Bosbez taking the lead. Great start for him to kick things off, picking up early 10 points if he can hold on to this, as Azion right now is trailing him hard. We have Emot Jr., the other Emot from the Emot cinematic universe, actually Ratchet, in fourth place right now, fighting with Loso, but we can see the players getting closer and closer to each other as we get to that final third turn. Curious to see how this will turn out in the end. It's going to be a bit of a photo finish for second place as Bosbez does pick up first. Emot Jr., aka Ratchet, on second. Just 0.003 of a second between him and Loso, aka Final Goodbye, and Azion in fourth place. Azion is a player of extremes.
What a banger round, honestly.
It's sick, yeah, it's just sick. Because it was very much looking like, clear first place, and then everybody started fighting back. Everybody started fighting that space, that speed in each of these turns to really start clawing their way back in, and a great ending to our first round.
0.45 was the last place time in the previous round. So definitely a very solid round from all of the players. A bit small, unfortunate Bosbez line there. Put him at the bottom. He managed to correct himself, so he lost only 0.4, but 0.1 wasn't even enough to, let's just say, challenge the top players. So at the moment, the field is being split between Azion and Ratchet. Well, Loso is a bit behind, and then Bosbez at the bottom so far, so real focus is on the top. Azion is leading the field. He managed to pop out those 0.8 so far, 0.2, which is a massive improvement over previous round. Secures those another plus 10 pointers. Despite Azion being last in the previous round, getting that plus 2 point pace increase now puts him in the potentially top contenders, as we are playing only till one winner. So every single point will matter, especially for the tiebreakers, if you doesn't even manage to close out the finalists. So those are really important parts which will make the entirety of the match important when it ends.
Exactly. It means, like, even if somebody were to be, like, for some reason fully in first place, right, no chance of catching up to him, theoretically speaking, right, it still matters, right? It still matters in terms of ranking, still matters in terms of the FP points that you will be getting at the end of the raid. So it does, make sure, players, because of that, will be incentivized to keep pushing, keep trying, besides, wanting to win, also just having the best result that they possibly could have. Right now, looking at the match itself, players are not as close as they were during the first round. Right now, Ratchet in the lead, Loso in second. Azion trailing behind with Bosbez right behind him. Ooh, with a crash into the finish, almost allowing Bosbez to overtake him. But he does hold on to third place, picking up 5 points, but it is Ratchet picking up 10 and solidifying his first place in the rankings right now with 24.
Yeah, it wasn't the fastest round. I mean, the pace-wise, the 0.3 was a very solid, but everyone else was a whole 0.3 slower. So wasn't
Yeah.
that most optimal run through the map as we saw, especially the first few rounds, but we're starting to see a bit of like gaps being forming as now Ratchet's starting to tiny bit run away or showing a bit more dominant form so far, especially on this map, trying to put the most use of it. It's quite solid rounds are happening so far, as Giannis has a better approach, but a very solid top 3 so far. Loso is not too far behind, but the .2 is quite a lot in this match so far. Solid top 2, minor bounce there from Bosbez, as he puts him a small disadvantage due to that, so only a pole .1 behind the field. A solid fight there at the moment between Azion and Ratchet at the top. Oh, Azion has a beautiful end at the end and puts himself in that small overtake at the end, and that small overtake was indeed needed as the gap was only less than 100 of a second. Those additional +10 points are definitely needed to turn down Ratchet's dominance so far.
Definitely. I mean, 31 points still puts him at the top, but oh, so close. I mean, Azion on 28 really fighting him for that first place. Right now, though, it's a fight for third place between Bosbez and Loso right now, with Loso being the one at the bottom. But still, I mean, first map ending up on, players with 30 points, I think is a nice divide, right? A nice even division between the players, I would say, where usually if a player runs away with it, players will be happy if they have 10 something points. There are situations where a player might even have less than 10 points because they had a really bad map initially, but these players so far have been driving quite neck and neck and really showing why they were able to make it into the finals with the pace that they've been showing off, and how even a tenth of a second, a hundredth of a second can mean a difference between first and second place. Honestly, so far a great match, and I mean 140 points. We're bound to see plenty of great rounds coming up with our map number 2 coming up right now.
Yeah, some things to note that from the qualification seeding side, so Ratchet was the seed number 1, Azion was seed number 2, Bosbas was seed number 3. However, Loso was only seed number 8, who managed to put himself into the final. Actually, that upset over Elcon was, I would say, the most deciding part in the semifinal, where Elcon was very close on making it, but Loso was the player who did come out on top in that match. He was actually the person who managed to win that match, actually, so definitely a bit of more mental advantage. However, Ratchet, the person who was second in that semifinal, at the moment is leading the field. Solid round so far. Very good exit speed there from Loso so far. Maybe get a potential overtake on Bosbez, and Ratchet will take off with a 0.6. So far very solid rounds. Only 0.85 the so-called loser time, which is still a pretty solid time overall, but it was definitely not enough to do a dent in that round specifically.
No, definitely, and I mean it's that's pretty much the pace where we're at right now. Final 4 players. It's make or break, and you can tell how it's no longer, gloves are off. Players are just going at it as fast as they are, and there's definitely some more risking happening here and there as well, just to nab a few hundredths of a second, because that really does matter. You can see it right here, amazing round right now with every player very close to each other. Ratchet at the moment in the lead, Bosbez on second place, Azion 3, Loso on 4, but that could change just as easily as we get to the final jump. We see Loso not having as much speed as he had in the previous one, unable to gonna snipe someone, but Bosbez and Azion so close to each other. It's the exact same times. Bosbez hitting that checkpoint just a bit earlier, allowing him to close it out with 7 points going his way, and jumping into third. What a what a photo finish.
Yeah, and one thing to note, that using this specific game modes, there is a tiebreaker. So in case there's a tied time, the player who was ahead in the previous checkpoint gets the tiebreaker advantage. So that's one thing to clarify, in case there is no alphabet advantage or something like that.
No,
it's actually based on who was the player who was the fastest. So we have actually 2 mistakes in this round, something that we have not seen so far actually. And it's both Bosbez and Loso who are, let's just say, split the field a bit. So Azion and Ratchet are currently fighting for those 10 pointers, as Bosbes and Los are currently fighting for those 5. But looks like to look at the top, it looks like Azion might be the person who has catch up and gets a lot of like solid low 0.7s, high 0.6s, very solid times being done as the leading time so far, which has been really, really kind of crazy. Despite the map being very simplistic in its nature, like the solid time that you would do probably with this normal round would be like a 46 flat. The fact that they get those micro optimizations done throughout the round, like getting that outside line nicely, reducing that oversteer, like having those small things, like they add up to like lower that time down every single time, and especially the drift part, where you just try to reduce the angle, reduce the braking time just enough to just squeeze through that gap or that turn part, just to have as much momentum possible, and just getting that everything perfectly that you really need to get to just get that things done to get some dent in the round.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, you can see it throughout this round, everybody doing a fantastic job, but Azion just a bit tighter, right? Just a bit more clean in the driving, and look at the time differences, right? I mean, it's definitely a bit more of an outlier to be behind 0.2 of a second, if you will, right? And I mean, I'm starting to get used to just being, talking about hundreds of a seconds between these players. What a great round to close it out with as well. And I mean, as you mentioned, right, these reducing these oversteers, using as much space as possible, really hitting the apex of these corners as optimally as they could during rounds is a sight and joy to behold. Really, I mean, with the points that we have, we're bound to go back to Cassidy as well. So I'm looking forward to our second drive-through. Looking at points-wise right now, we do see Ratchet in the lead with 65 points. Azion on 60, and these two players at the moment clearly look to be fighting for first place as Bosbes and Final Goodbye at 41 and 34 points respectively. So it's definitely a tight fight for first place, but it's going to be a fight between Ratchet and Azion at the moment. So 140 points, there's still some space, but you can really see these two players start to get away from everyone else.
Yeah, and that's going to be the important part, especially when we're going to be closing in on the ending parts of the match, especially when when there's going to be a player who will be finishing off finalists, like that, depending on how many points you have at that moment when the match is concluded, will depend on if you get second, or if you get third, or if you get fourth. And of course, just reaching into finals will give that advantage, and of course, reaching it faster than others will give that advantage. So there's still a lot of room to work with, and despite being back down, like trying to at least snipe that person who was either from 4th to 3rd is still gonna be very important till the end of the game.
Definitely, and we'll see. Right now, though, Bosbes, the one I could say he's probably want to hold on to that 3rd place and maybe start to sneak into 2nd place. Though it's going to be a tough one, regardless, as everybody is showing amazing pace right now. Bosbes in the lead. See Ratchet in 2nd. Azion making the mistake early on, hitting the inside of the wall of the corner, so he is in 3rd place even. As Loso actually making a bigger mistake. Not quite sure what happened there. But the fight between Ratchet and Bosses right now is heating up hard, but it does look like Ratchet... Oh, what happened?
Ratchet
wait,
had
what
to
happened
respawn.
There? He had to respawn. Oh, wait, did he hit the wall incorrectly?
Everyone respawned.
Oh... Bosbes slow-mo finish. Well, all right. I mean, part of casting, I guess this is, like a bit of, look behind the curtain. You try to predict what's going to happen based on what has happened and how the players are driving, right? So that making, whenever something like this happens, it catches you off guard because you're about to say something, because you're expecting something to happen, and then it totally doesn't. Right? It's one thing if somebody is 1st place and they end up in 2nd. That's one thing. But to just have players respawn and you're like, wait, what? I mean, personally, it always catches me off guard. So that's why things sometimes sound a bit...
Also, one thing to note, that we have a solid fight at the top. Bosbes is really stepping up his... Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
You see, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. Thank you for proving my point.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, one thing that happened is that Azion crashed 2 times in a row. And usually when you crash, you have this mental block, especially when you have a higher tier of a match being played, when there's not other players that not making that many mistakes, and when you make two mistakes in a row while still being at the top of the field. Yes, ASEAN does have that at the moment, that 20-point lead so far above third place. That kind of gives him that breathing room. At the same time, he's losing a bit of points here and there to the winner, and it can potentially like go in this, like, it's hard, like this mental pressure then being that you have to like reset, have a full match resets in the head and get this clean consistency getting back, because you really need it at this level, at this stage, to especially do some damage. As currently Loso with Ratchet are leading the field. So if you don't know, Final Goodbye is the player called Loso, who was a bit more veteran player also in the Trackmania 2 era. Currently he's doing a sick job of leading the field with Ratchet in second, ASEAN in third, in Bospez in fourth. Solidified 1, 2, 3, 4 in this round. Nothing too special. However, time from the Loso was pretty solid, despite the fastest time from the match was by Ratchet with a 0.1. Loso's time was pretty solid, but now equalized the field with him and Bospez.
Equalized third place. I mean, it's really been a fight for that at the bottom. I mean, ASEAN also starting to get a bit away from Ratchet, but still, you know, in range definitely to start making a comeback of his own, but not looking as solid as he was during the semifinals. Perhaps the pressure getting a little bit to him and not allowing him to drive the times that he was during the previous match. Regardless, everybody is doing a fantastic job, and you can see it right here. Everybody so close together. I mean, Bospez lagging behind by 0.2 of a second, but still in position to overtake until a clip onto that block right there. So it's a fight for first between ASEAN and Ratchet, and Ratchet with an earlier bounce, more speed, overtakes him right on that risky fin, and 10 points going to Ratchet instead of ASEAN. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, that was close. Bospez, please finish. Please. I mean, the slow-mo there as well, right? You got the slow-mo block, so it's not like he just dropped down instantly. You gotta wait.
Yeah, that was really close there. But he still managed to pull it through. But yeah, at the moment the field is starting to become a bit more interesting. I mean, Ratchet is still leading with 99 points. He still needs that 41 points to enter finalists himself. However, ASEAN is still quite close so far. ASEAN is with 85, Loso is with 59, and Bospez is with 57. There is a noticeable gap, so I feel like it's kind of in the two-way fight. So at the moment it's the fight between Ratchet and ASEAN for that win, and between Loso and Bospez for that third. So of course there still can be a potential comeback happening if they start just taking dubs like every single time and just denying the leader at a time to like get that sick comeback from either Loso or Bospez's side. But it is still possible, and especially that will be really needed because to like reduce that gap. Because to keep in mind, we're playing till only one winner, so whenever the winner finishes the match, the points or the status that the other players had will kind of be locking as their positions. So it'll be used as the tiebreakers. If they have been finalists, it's better of course then. So who basically has the more points or who is in finals will get the tiebreaker advantage. Let's just say it like that. You earlier reach finalist, you also have a tiebreaker advantage. So those are one things to note on based on how players will be like seeded for second, third, and fourth. As Bospez with a small early mistake as we go on Euphoria.
Going on to Euphoria. I mean, we're guaranteed to go on to Caste, I believe, as our fifth map, if my memory serves me correct. As right now, I mean, technically, Ratchet could come in first place 4 times in a row, but beyond 139, barely not enough for finalists. But I don't think that's going to happen. As right now, ASEAN in the lead with Loso trailing a bit behind. Ratchet also just lurking in the back, hoping for a mistake. We'll see if that is the case, if that will happen, as at the moment ASEAN looks secure in his first place. Nice turn through the dirt and final goodbye. I mean, a little bit of an awkward crash into the finish, but still goes over the line, so holds on to second place. We see Ratchet on third and Bospez on fourth, so definitely positive for ASEAN in his fight for first place, and Bospez starting to see Loso run away from him right now in terms of points. Still 6 points. Still room to make up.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna be a fight between Germany and France, I feel like, for that position. It's always them two who are involved at the top. It's always them. So actually,
Always them, always
it's
rowdy
always,
kids in the class.
yeah, very two unfortunate mistakes coming from this side. Asian barely makes the jump. It's actually a very difficult respawn to do properly if you don't manage to make the jump. So he managed to squeeze himself barely on the platform to give a potential of the points. But meanwhile, Loso is actually currently leading the field at the moment. Bosbez is trying to catch up. Ratchet, unfortunate release at the very end, but Ratchet is really trying to get those, even those. He's doing small dirt wiggles on those micro dirt parts to even gain a bit more speed to catch up on Loso, but it's not gonna be enough, and Loso still not the fastest time. Let's just say like that. Let's be real, we have seen like 0.3s, 0.1s, 0.2s, 0.4s usually as the winning times. This is only the slowest time. Also from the total time for world record, but it was enough. The other mistakes were still bit too much, and I would say relatively free 10-pointers for Low Soul in the end.
Yeah, definitely not having to risk that much. And yeah, usually that time, I mean, from what the players have been driving, would be a solid 4th place. But you have these rounds, right? They happen. And I mean, Euphoria is... There's been a track where we have seen some, slight errors, steering a bit too early, causing the players to lose quite a bit of time this time around. Players somewhat closer to each other, though there is clearly a fight happening between Azio and Bosbez for 1st, and Loso and Ratchet at the moment for 3rd place. 2 packs happening as right now Bosbez really holding on to that 1st place to Azion so close, just hoping for a slight little mistake or perhaps just a better line on the dirt, but it does look like Bosbez will hold firm, will hold on. No changes in the placements throughout the latter half of Euphoria. So 10 points for Bosbez, definitely necessary for him to start getting close to final goodbye, while at the same time we see Ratchet and Azion. 9 points between the 2 players, though Ratchet still leading at the 2nd half of Euphoria.
Yeah, even if Loso makes the seeding upset as well. So Ratchet is the player who was leading in terms of qualifications. Asian was 2nd, Bosbez was 3rd, but Loso was a bit of the low-key underdog coming into this match with the seed number 8. He's still holding up quite strongly, especially against Bosbez, who was a bit close, who was the 3rd seed in this match. But yeah, very solid 1-2-3 so far. Loso is a bit behind, over 0.3 on the leading players. Bosbez with a small oversteer at the end, small bounce from Asian's side puts him out of the insta-grip parts. He also has to readjust the slide a bit, puts himself a bit back from the top 2. Bosbez is leading the field on a very needed 10 points. And Ratchet touches, allows Loso to overtake. Asian even touches the side, but doesn't really matter at the end. And Bosbez gets the fastest time so far of the match with the 0.13 on the match. That gets very needed 5 points, with the only 1 point difference between him and Loso so far while entering to the next map.
The next map, and I mean, this is our first chance at seeing a finalist come in terms of points. I mean, technically, I expect our first finalist to come in. I mean, Ratchet right now with 121 points. Over 4 rounds, I think it's definitely not, it wouldn't be unexpected for him to pick up at least 19 points. So I think right now that is the player to watch in terms of winning the finals overall, right? It's going to be one winner, so I think for him, he's probably feeling good as warming up for the 5th track Caste with Azion right now in 108. The gap is a bit bigger. It's going to need a couple of 1st places to catch up to Ratchet in this. At the same time, though, that fight for 3rd place stays ever close. Just 1 point between Final Goodbye, aka Loso, and Bosbez, 86 and 85 points. I mean, obviously they could be technically overtake either of the 2 players fighting for 1st place, but the way the race has been going, I think it'd be, a bit unfair to then claim like, oh yeah, they're gonna do it, because it's, you do see this level of consistency coming through all these players, and while they are very consistent, there's just a few more mistakes happening right now on Loso and Bosbez's side that are, keeping them from getting these potential 1st places.
So it's a very simplistic map, so all of the micro optimization is gonna be really needed. As actually Ratchet, having the early mistake, barely survives the pipe as well. But yeah, that doesn't put him in that good position, as mistakes only can come up from intense amount of risking on this map. But so far, nothing too crazy except from Ratchet so far. As Jan and Loso really fighting for those top positions. Bosp is going for that flat landing. It's not the most optimal, but it's also one of the things that gives a bit of differences between the so far. But seems like so far a very solidified 1, 2, 3. Loso has a tiny bit more speed, but it's not about a very sick time by ASEAN. 0.67. That's a very solid time, especially for let's just say this kind of a map, and gives a bit, reduces now the points gap, especially with that Ratchet's mistake. Now it's only 6 points difference.
Yeah, very beneficial for ASEAN right there. If he's able to replicate another first place, he could put himself in position to overtake Ratchet right here. But this time around, no mistake from Ratchet, as he is leading the pack, looking to retake that lead. Getting very close to the checkpoint right there, steering a bit to the side. You can see Bospez and Loso trying to attack. Unfortunately, Bospez hitting the wall right there, not really paying off. Ratchet still in first place, ASEAN at the moment in third. Quite a ways behind, so it's going to be a fight. Oh, as ASEAN hits the wall, a fight between Ratchet and Final Goodbye for first place, and it does look like Ratchet is going to be the one to pick up 10 points of his own and set himself up on 134, just needing a top 2 on the next round to get into finalist mode.
Yeah, another 0.6 though was a winning time. However, Ratchet is now only 6 points away. He just needs to take another top 2 in a match and he will put himself into finalists. What's the crazy part now is that those small mistakes from Bospez now starting to reduce also the points gap, so Bospez now needs to deny and get those 10 pointers to potentially overtake Loso for that third place, as Ratchet is out of this race potentially. That's Voltage and Ocean as well. So both bottom players are now fighting out for the big points, not only to just put themselves in a better position, but also maybe to potentially close out the round, as the current points leaders are out of this round in the bottom positions. Both players are literally equal in that checkpoint right there. So if there's a tiebreaker, it all comes down on this checkpoint right there. So looks like Loso has a small advantage and he will be taking the win in this one. Of course, not still a really good time, let's just say that. But it wasn't to the level as the previous rounds. But those mistakes from Ratchet and ASEAN now became so important, especially for Ratchet, because this denied him on entering the finalists, as he's only 1 point away. And Loso taking the win over Bospez now put himself that safety net that was really needed in case there's a tiebreaker happening at the very end.
Definitely, I mean, 10 points. I mean, yeah, that's 2 rounds, right? You get 2 rounds to, I mean, 1 round to mess around in. Mess around. I heard what I said there. But yeah, definitely making use of those mistakes from Ratchet and ASEAN right there to its full potential. Definitely good play. And, you know, making sure you stay consistent despite what happens around you is essential. This time around, though, everybody side by side, neck and neck. And it's going to come down to this final drift. Who can pick up the most speed out of this jump? Looks like it's going to be ASEAN towards the end, with Bospez on second, Ratchet on third. Goodbye on fourth. I mean, for Ratchet, this is guaranteed finalist mode. But look at these times as well, right? 0.6s, 0.7s. Reign the top 4 right here. Emont Jr., aka Ratchet, on finalist mode at the end of map number 5. But I mean, what a round! They just keep closing these maps out with amazing rounds that are just so close.
Was the last place.
I mean, at the same time, I'm surprised, but I shouldn't be, because this is the pace that we should expect, right? This is what you know, should happen if you are playing in the finals, right? You shouldn't be you know, getting away with you know, just getting ahead by, you know, 0.2, 0.3. That if that happens, it's because a mistake happened. But in general, these are the rounds that you can expect. This is the pace that these players are able to drive, and I mean, my God. Yeah. It's so hard to call who is going to be first when players are so close to each other.
So one thing to note, that we're playing only till one winner. If Ratchet wins this, the positions on how many the points how other players have are locked in their position. So that would mean Bosbus would be 4th, Loso would be 3rd, Asian would be 2nd. So it all depends on other players to just deny and also get those additional points to put themselves either in 3rd, 2nd, or 4th positions accordingly. So it's literally a bit of a 1v3 at the moment, just trying to deny that leading position, because the match will end as soon as the player who has the finalist will win the match. So the fight still happens between the 3rd, 4th in this behind the scenes, but also it depends on whenever the first place managed to take the dub in the round.
Gonna come down to this. We are live, map number 4 on Wisteria. It's Ratchet's game to win right now. ASEAN needs top 3 to get finalists, but I mean, the main goal, I'd say, for all of these players is to stop Ratchet from getting into first place. And for Ratchet himself, obviously, he wants to get into first place. ASEAN making quite a few mistakes, allowing him to solidify his 4th spot for this time around. So it's going to be up to Bospez and Loso to stop Ratchet from finishing things out, getting into the final turn. Bospez going quite wide on this turn. Imat, aka Ratchet, does close it out on his first try into finalist. I mean, it comes, it goes. As mentioned, we're only having one winner, so this pretty much solidifies our rankings with final goodbye, aka Loso, picking up 113 points. Bospez not enough points to overtake him, so it's going to be 1st Ratchet, 2nd ASEAN, 3rd Loso, aka final goodbye, and 4th going to Bospez. It came and went just as quick as that, but that's sometimes how it goes. I mean, Ratchet just instantly driving the pace he needed to win the
It was a
the
sick
finals.
round actually, up to that
yeah.
point. It's just it's you know he actually what was happened was Bospez had a small bounce at the end that made him lose the grip at the end, despite him leading. He had an unfortunate transition there, while Ratchet had a reduced braking time that gave him just grip early enough to get that inside line and snipe him at the end. And that was the thing that was missing from Bosbez's side, that kind of forced him out of the line. And due to that, allowed Ratchet to take the win. But due to that, now we have seen all of the tournaments. So we started with the qualification standings, where we had the time attack qualifiers. So from that we had 70 players, we got our 16, then we had our bracket stage, we had our quarterfinals, semifinals, down to the 4 players right now. And now if you look at the total standings, if I can find it.
It's somewhere.
It's somewhere, yeah. 3 seconds. And...
Drum roll, drum roll.
There it is. Okay, yeah, find it. So now we have our total standings as well. And seems like was very, very close on some of the players, but yeah, Imot was the missing player. It will update soon as on the top 8. So we started it off. So we had Laudis, Broly, Strick, Louis, Nico, Auris, Parenbecker, and Heave, who didn't manage to go through the who managed to went through the qualifiers, didn't manage to go through the first round. Then Elkan, Staff, Skiro, Imot, who went out in the semifinals, and now in the finals we have Bosbez from Team Wombo and England in 4th place, also from Slovakia in 3rd, ASEAN in 2nd, and Ratchet from Team Shift and Germany winning the event. An additional symbolic 10 USD as well, but the main thing is the FastPoint points that will give a quite nice addition from the 8 future events, especially some of the stuff that's will be coming at the end of the year as well. But overall, what were your thoughts on the event, and where do you expect this player to Ratchet actually take it, despite him looking very shaky on the semifinals and ASEAN having a very sick semifinal run? Sadly, ASEAN, it wasn't enough for him to take it in the end.
No, I'd say to a certain extent, it seems like ASEAN, like the focus that he had during the semifinals, perhaps drained him a little bit too much for the finals. Obviously, being a longer match in and of itself, but it's perhaps because of the players that he was up against that the pace suffered a little bit. But regardless, the pace from all the players, I think you could see throughout the tournament, right? Just kept going higher and higher and higher, allowing us to have an amazing finals. And I feel like as well, the way, we started out at 8 or 9 or wherever you may be. I'm saying 8 because it's 8 over here when we started.
It was 9
And
for
just
me.
2.5 hours later, yeah, it was 9 for you. But 2.5 hours later, we just whittled down everyone and got some quick fire. I think that's the best way I could describe it. Some quick fire Trackmania action. And I mean, there was pretty much no breaks, right? There was no moment of like, okay, and now we can no, we're going in. All right, we're ready for some Trackmania. Hopefully, you're ready for some fast cars, and it's maybe a little bit of an endurance for those players who barely get in, right? Getting those second places, not really getting some time to breathe, and but at the same time, who knows? Maybe that was what caused Asio not, keep the pace that he showed during the semifinals because he had that long of a break between matches himself. Who knows? But
Maybe he was
regardless,
so dominant in the semifinal that
yeah,
started to like nerf him due to
he's,
that.
he started sleeping a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
what do I do? Relaxing.
So due to that, it ends for EMEA this month. Next week we'll have Americas. So if you're from North or South America, it will be your time to shine. The format will be exactly the same maps. It will be starting around this time next week for Americas. So you can register within the events tab in game. FP NASAM, it's like North America, South America's abbreviation. You can register for that. You can gain some additional points as a bit of first few prize money. Maybe for prize money it's not that big, but I feel like for esports earnings, it's like you get flight with that leaderboard kind of thing. At least personally, how I saw it more. As a thing, it's like, okay, so we're finally starting to climb the esports earning ladder in a sense. But yeah, it's a bit like the whole idea is to like give it a nice introduction and give more opportunities to players to play in the cup mode system or like a competitive environment. Give it that more opportunity for like tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 players to get that like more experience and more match environment. As it's usually cup mode, despite being like the meta of competitive, it's not really that accessible in a daily basis. Or like let's just say a casual basis in a sense. So at least with this, it's like possible to give at least some more opportunity to try out. And due to that, we're actually gonna be slowly wrapping up for the end. Thank you everyone who watched it. For the next month, we will have new maps coming in as well. There's gonna be bunch of events, so definitely follow on this channel and follow FastPoint Twitter for the direct updates on what events gonna be happening and what some of the results and other sites, where to watch, what to follow, where to register. So a lot of people were confused where to register for this. And if you want to try out casting or submit your own maps, it's also possible if you just hit me up in DMs or find the appropriate media as well. But yeah, either way, I think thank you Boney for being here with the cast as well. Massive thanks as well to this. But yeah, that's gonna be it for us. Next week we're gonna have the North and South America monthly event, so definitely stay tuned for that. That's gonna be it for us. Thank you all for watching once again. See you later. Bye bye.
See you later, guys. Bye.